What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome. Oh, baby. Dynasty Points is officially global here on Tuesday. Jakob being an absolute savage, bringing his equipment out to Portugal on vacation. He is here at the stroke of midnight over there, ready to do the show. Lucas here as well. And from Dynasty Points Market Report, we called him back up from AAA. It's Andy Buckler. He's back. We are doing a fun show today, something we don't do often. We save it. Look, if you want a spot that's going to give you 10 mock drafts in a month, this isn't it. But we will give you some really good ones. And tonight is one of those really good ones. As you can see, we are mock drafting. We have some landing spots we're going to discuss. We're going to give you player analysis as always. I told the guys, let's keep each pick relatively short. We know how this channel is going to go. Someone's about to have a 35-minute monologue, not naming names or pointing fingers. We're also going to talk about how to play the value game on a draft board. We're not going to give just an arbitrary landing spot to players. If we think of something really good for that player that'll fit, that's what we're going to do. That being said, a lot of weird stuff in mock drafts. I've seen some recently where Cam Ward was a hypothetical number one pick because he's a quarterback. He's going to go number one. I don't see that type of stuff. I'll be interested to see who has who where today in this draft. I don't think we need to talk too much about prospects. I think we can just dive into the mock draft now. Can I get an over-under? How many people here, show of hands, think that when I click the start draft button, it is not going to skip 7 picks right away? Who thinks I did this correct this time? Anyone? No? All right, 2. Jakob is doubting me, which is fine. I understand, but not today. No, it is going to work when I click this button. You are all wrong. All of you were wrong. Every one of you that doubted me just now, wrong. And I will not forget it. I'm going to use it as fuel moving forward. Shout out to everyone. D-Walk in the chat. Fantasy Football Life in the chat. Juan Marcelo in the chat. Jamie, TD, Herms, everybody. Much love and bless. This is how it's going to work. We're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, as you see on the left here, and rinse and repeat. Not a snake draft, linear. We're not drafting for team specific, just our favorite players in this Superflex 10-team 0.5 tight end premium PPR. No psycho formats here today. As Buck would say, hashtag just play normal. I'm ready to dive in. I'm taking Ashton Jeanty first because I can. Oh, no. No, I spoke too soon. No.
Oh, how the turntables have turned.
That wasn't my fault. We're going to ignore all of this. At least I didn't do it right off the bat. All right. I should have just taken every draft slot. Anyway, Jakob, that means you're up next.
I'm up next. All right.
Nick thinks he knows where you're going already.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go there quite yet. I wish that I could. I wish that I had the certainty that he was going to play the position that has fantasy points in order to pick a 102, but I don't think I'm quite there yet. I'm gonna go with the running back that I think seems to be a lock or close to a lock for round 1 draft capital. I think that leaves him with a much higher floor than any other option available. I'm not quite as jacked about him personally as I am with the NFL. I'm going to post sort of my veil of ignorance rankings, where what I would do if I were an NFL team when I'm finished up with all my running back content I'm thinking about taking. I think I'd probably have him RB4 in the class. But NFL's going to draft him round 1. He's big. He's fast. He catches passes. Checks every fantasy box. I'll take Omarion Hampton 102.
Yeah, did you say you're going to have him a little lower? There are people I trust in terms of running back evaluation that have him like the 8th best running back in the class, which I find interesting. Next up,
yeah.
I think you're right, though. I think his see everyone already. Jacob, Mike's got to be new. No, folks, it's just position.
I know.
Deal position. We have a different setup here. He's gonna go round 1. I think it's pretty much. I don't think anywhere I've seen has him not in round 1 at this point. It's just to where. Everyone says Broncos. I think Chargers would be better. His play style in the Greg Roman system would go crazy. But he's definitely gonna go round 1. He's definitely gonna be someone going at like, the 1-2 turn redraft, post draft, I think. So I don't mind this spot at all. Not who I would go 1-2, but Buck, who do you have at 1-3?
So I'm stuck with probably the worst pick here. This pick sucks. I could go a couple different places. I don't want to be the guy that takes Cam Ward, so I'll just do something crazy. I'll take Quinshon Judkins at 3. I think people are kind of sleeping on him. I know like the analytic people don't like him because of the missed tackles forced and stuff. It's really hard for me to get like past that freshman season at Ole Miss. I mean, I think if he came out, obviously he can't come out. If he came out then, he would probably like the 101 and the Debbie stuff. I think he's big. He's fast. Athlete scores really, really good. He obviously shared touches. I think he's going to be a top 50 pick. I don't want to take the quarterback. I don't like any of the wide receivers, and it's just up to them and the tight ends. So I'll just take Judkins. If he gets top 50 capital, which I think he will, I think he's super underrated. I think he could easily be, an RB1 in Dynasty, which isn't that really hard to do right now.
Yeah, that's Brett's RB4 in this class. He has RJ Harvey a little higher. He's higher than everyone on RJ Harvey, but I mean, if running back is going to be what it's going to be, Judkins seems to be the next likely. Our guy Theo thinks there's going to be 3 running backs taken in the first round. He says he's got that feeling. If it is, it could be Kaleb. It could be Judkins.
It'll be Henderson.
I think it'd be Henderson. Henderson could as well. That's what I mean. There's just so many choices back. I don't mind the pick here, Buck. Not what I would do, but I don't mind the pick. Lucas?
Well, I thought this was going to be a super easy pick for me at 4. I kind of have 4 players that I think are in a tier of their own as we're looking at this with also projected draft capital. But this is Superflex. And Cam Ward, who's the presumptive 101 already in the NFL draft, is still sitting there. He has the highest upside, I believe, of any quarterback coming out. And I'm able to take him at 4. So that's a super easy pick.
Okay. First to take the quarterback is Lucas. Look, if it's Superflex, I get it. I understand. Not my pick. I've said that a couple of times now. But I'm taking Tyler Warren at the 1-5. Not really thinking twice about it. It's not that I dislike Tet. I don't. I think Tet McMillan slander has gone far, maybe even too far, if you would. But Tyler Warren, tight end premium, destined to be a first round pick. I'm taking Tyler Warren. This was going to be my pick pretty much no matter what if he got here. So I'm glad that he did at 1-5. I'm happy with it. Jacob?
Man, this is definitely an interesting spot here. I have to make another boring pick, I think, unfortunately. I wish I could take sort of someone that is more of like a my guy, but sitting here 1-6, guy who's probably going to go between picks 8 and 22 in the NFL draft. I know he's going to play wide receiver, has a very locked-in production profile. I'll just take Tet McMillan here.
Yeah, that's a pretty like some people's consensus second pick. That's kind of recently been passed up by Hampton. So I get it, but I think it has gone too far. I would have taken probably McMillan at 2. Probably over Ward as well. And Buck, I think you're going to end up on an island with Judkins, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. So
I mean, I think it's a take your pick draft, right? Like I really think, Judkins isn't necessarily my guy for anyone who read my recent write up on the top of the running back class, but it's definitely a spot where I don't think there's a particularly wrong answer. I think we talked the last time I was on the show about, me probably preferring some of the late firsts at value to some of the early firsts, because I really do think after, to me, it's Jeanty and then it's Hampton and it's Ward. I think you can go a ton of different directions and justify it. And, a couple of these guys are probably going to hit in a way that's more impactful than Cam Ward even does as position players. So I think there's still a bunch of guys left on the board that it wouldn't surprise me if they're the second or third most valuable guy in this class.
Yeah, it's definitely setting up to be more than just an interesting class. I think it's set up to be a unique class for how people draft. Like, landing spots are going to matter. To me, I'm taking Warren at 5. I think he's a jet. There's been too much of that. I think it makes sense for them. Hampton, got to assume it's going to be like a Pittsburgh, Denver, Chargers. Jeanty is pretty much all but locked with Vegas, although the recent stuff with Breece Hall getting traded and then committee and the Jets drafting Jeanty would just be truly insane. I think a big thing for Tet is going to be landing spot. People want him with the Chargers. I don't. I don't want him with the Chargers at all. I want him somewhere where he could flourish as the one. They have a one. His name is Ladd McConkey, and we don't really have to have that discussion more here. I think we've had it a lot on this show recently, but his landing spot is definitely going to be interesting. Do you have a spot for him that you really like, Jacob?
I don't know if there's a spot that particularly rings a bell. I mean, I think I would like somewhere where he's not going to be asked to play like traditional X. I'm trying to think of that off the top of my head, but like somewhere that he could be more of a possession wide receiver, that he could move inside and outside, I think would be where I'd feel most comfortable about him. I think if he ends up being a bust, the reason why would be if he can't really elevate his game as a pure outside wide receiver, but that's what he is drafted to do. I'm not 100% convinced that that's within his toolkit. I'm very convinced that he can be sort of a big slot F wide receiver. Can he actually excel in the NFL? Is he twitchy enough to do so as an X wide receiver against press? I think it's possible he develops into that. I think I'm less sure that he can do that as a rookie. So that'll be kind of what I'm watching mostly. Is he going to go somewhere where he's asked to do that? Like, I don't love the Chargers fit, for instance, because to me, they have a slot flanker in Ladd McConkey. And so if you're looking for what do they need that traditional X. If they're asking Tet to be that, I'm not 100% sure that his skill set matches his size. And so I could see him being square peg round hole in a spot like that.
I was reading the Ringers mock draft, and they have him 5 to Jacksonville as of.
I don't think that's going to happen, but that would be interesting. That'd be really fun. I mean, that'd be a great fit where Thomas can do that and he can play off of him. I mean, I would love that if the Jags wanted to do that.
Tyler?
So something I keep seeing is Tet going to Denver. Like, that's been a very popular one as he's moved down the board. I think that would be a really fun fit. But looking at Tet and where he's projected to go right now, I do think that he's going to be more of a year 2 type player that whenever we'll really see that big uptick in production. I'm a little worried that people are going to be laying out over their skis a little bit here with him and thinking that he's going, like, where you have to draft him in a startup right now is going to be outperforming where he's actually going to be in terms of fantasy points per game during his rookie year. I think going into year 2, just already trying to call that a little bit, I think we'll see a much better sort of like uptick in points. So I'm a little concerned just because, like, right now I don't see any place where he's going to be a wide receiver 1, which I think will benefit him in the long term, but is going to be rough during his rookie season.
Yeah, I can see it. I can easily see a situation where he's not the number 1 rookie receiver in this class, for sure. Tyler asked if he's a better Keon Coleman. I mean,
I hope so.
I think, yeah.
Well, I do think he's definitely a better Keon Coleman. I hope that he's a lot better Keon Coleman. I think he's like a Michael Pittman. I don't know. Maybe, I mean, we'll see. I've seen the Drake London comp thrown around, and I think that's actually a decent one. Although I think London's a bit more refined, or was coming out. I've seen like Mike Evans comps, and I think those are just wrong. Like, I think Mike Evans is much more of a raw athlete and much more of a dog at the catch point, and I think McMillan is a little bit more. I don't know. I don't know that his game matches his body type, and I always get a little bit scared when players are like that because I think that teams crave that X wide receiver size so much, and I don't know if I see like a Mike Evans, T. Higgins, George Pickens to Tat. I don't think that's really his game as much.
Yep, I think it's fair. We got some good comments. We're not going to talk about players we haven't drafted yet, right? That's a classic draft rule. It applies here. So Buck, you're up.
Yeah, I hate all the just compare the fat ass wide receiver to the other fat ass wide receiver. I would take Quinshon Judkins here, but someone reached on him 5 picks ago. So I'll take Loveland. I'll take the other tight end. If Warren's off the board, I think it's fine to take him there.
Guy for 5 picks ago is crazy. You're right. The tight end premium leagues. I've seen even discourse going back and forth on who is really the one, who is the two, different type roles. I don't think the landing spot for Loveland is as clear a pathway. So again, when we're looking at a tight end, they have to go somewhere where they're used like that. So I think that's going to be interesting. Where for that, I don't know. Jacob, we've seen Warren stuff to like Indianapolis.
Night, if that happens.
We
Sorry, Tyler. It's over for you, buddy.
Yeah, we obviously don't want a tight end in Indianapolis, but there are a couple of spots here.
I want a tight end in Indianapolis.
It's going to be an interesting situation with him where he could go. Houston, I think Loveland's a second round pick. I don't think he'll go in round 1.
I disagree with that. I really disagree with that. I'd be absolutely floored if we don't see him go night 1.
Where do you think then? Because I'm looking at the picks.
I think he's going to his old coach. I think he's going to go to the Chargers.
You do, hey? Where are they?
I don't see any way if he's still. I don't know if he lasts the Chargers, but if he's still on the board, I don't think Harbaugh's going to pass him up. They need pass catching weapons. That's his former player. They need a tight end. I think it would be a perfect fit.
What about Dallas?
I don't think Dallas goes that direction. I think Dallas is more likely to go Golden. I think they're more likely to go running back. I think they're more likely to go defense. I don't know, but it's possible.
They like their fat, slow tight ends.
I'd be pumped if that happened, man. Oh my God. If Loveland got to go play with Dak Prescott chucking seams, like, hell yeah, man. Give that to me. I mean, look what Dak Prescott did for Jake Ferguson and Dalton Schultz. Like, if you could get a legit star tight end with Dak Prescott, I'd be fired up about that.
Blake Jarwin.
Yeah, exactly. No, good call. I think you're right. He is that good. I'll change my mind. Round 1. I like the Chargers. And what?
I'm Loveland over Warren too, by the way, chat. Tyler said that Zoltan has Loveland over Warren. Loveland's my tight end 1 as well in this class.
Okay. All right. Okay. We'll see. We'll see if I reached earlier with Warren when we look back on this post draft. Lucas, you're up.
Y'all are just making my life so easy here. I was sitting here at 108. I was going to be kind of disappointed whenever I had to draft Loveland. But we still have a tier 1 player on the board because we don't know if he's going to be an offensive player. And that's going to be Travis Hunter. Like, if he hits, he has a very real possibility of outperforming every single player that's been drafted up to this point. And you can get him at 108. That's just freaking awesome. You know, whenever he will be used on offense, because whatever team that drafts him will use him at some point in time on offense, that he's going to get guaranteed some touches. I'm just going to call it right now. He's going to be averaging minimum 5 targets a game just because somebody is going to be desperately wanting to use him. And that is an extremely low baseline, but yeah, he's going to get that every single game as soon as he comes in. Plus the high side for him, like we're always talking about, you want the players who have that absolute highest potential. You know, you want the high variance type players who can really hit. He absolutely can, definitely has the talent. And if he does become like full-time offensive player, full-time wide receiver, it is scary to think what he can do. I have a couple of concerns with him as a wide receiver, just in terms of like, you know, refining his route running a little bit. every single person that I've seen has been saying that he is a lot more sudden than I give him credit for. So I'm going to take the other experts' opinions over mine on that. And he was already awesome in an offense that was designed for him. NFL's going to design plays for him. It's super easy. Travis Hunter, 108.
Love it. Love the pick.
Yeah, I look, when we did the mock draft for Fantasy Football Daily, Scott and I pounded the table heavy for Travis Hunter. Like, we heavily. I can't do that when Shedeur Sanders is on the board. So I'm gonna quickly run to 1-9 and take Sanders on the board. There's like 50-50 he could play and reach an upside. Look, I always say that I can't scout quarterbacks. The only person that can scout quarterback is God herself. The rest of us are just guessing. I don't know if Shedeur is going to be good. I have no idea. A lot of people tell me he's the most pro-ready quarterback in the draft. I've seen he's unbelievably accurate. I've also seen he's more athletic than we give him credit for. Okay, so I think this is a year where 100% quarterbacks are going to fall, making late first-round picks more valuable. Daniel Jeremiah has him going 3 to the Giants. Danny Kelly has him going to the Jets. Top 5 quarterbacks. I always said on this show, if a round 1 quarterback makes it past the 12th pick, right? Like, then we've lost the plot. We're talking about top 5 now, getting passed into the late 10. That's just valuable in Superflex, even if he never reaches like if he has a Trevor Lawrence career path, right? Even though he's not the Trevor Lawrence prospect, right? If you're talking like QB 15 to 7, that's still insanely valuable over probably most of these wide receivers. Ryan Heath and I were talking in terms of like propping up wide receiver rankings, if you would. Wide receivers are given the benefit of the doubt with top 12 dynasty rankings. If you were to measure it, they have more hopeful top 12 dynasty rankings than they do actual top 12 dynasty seasons. So I'll take the quarterback. They're the easiest asset to move, the easiest asset to hold on to. They're the safest asset. You get years of insulation. I mean, 1-9, this is easy. This is not even my favorite quarterback in the draft, but at 1-9, I will take Sanders just simply over maybe a little bit more comfortability, a little more pedigree, a little more accuracy maybe. So I'll take Sanders at 1-9 here pretty easily. And I would like both landing spots. Jets, Giants, perfect. You're going to give me Neighbors. You're going to give me Garrett. Both of the teams are terrible. I'll take it, man.
What about Saints?
He's not gonna make it.
I think that's where he's going.
You think he's a Saint?
I think he's a Saint.
So no Giants and no Jets, even though nobody knows who's
correct.
Playing.
I think that he. Well, first of all, I think he sucks ass.
Yeah.
And I think teams should take Dart ahead of him. But I don't think that the Giants are going to do it. I think that all the reporting is that the Browns are not taking him. And so if you buy that, then to me, the Giants going with both Russ and Jameis, I think is a signal that they're not into taking a quarterback at 3. And I just don't think the Jets are going to do that. Aaron Glenn comes from Detroit, where they kind of inherited Jared Goff as this stopgap, and they decided we're going to build everything around him. And if we need to address quarterback later, we'll address it later. I think the Jets look at Fields similarly, where they're like, he's a good culture guy. He's well liked. We're going to try and build everything around Fields, and we'll see what we have. And then if we need to replace Fields later, we'll do it when we have a better environment. I think the Jets don't select a quarterback until maybe day 3 in this draft.
Interesting.
So I think he goes to the Saints, or maybe he falls all the way into the 20s and he goes to the Seahawks or the Steelers.
That would be, I think someone at that point is maybe trading up, right? To stop the fall. I don't know. 9. I didn't realize the Saints are picking 9. So
for what it's worth, he's currently plus 270 to go to the Saints. So that's like pretty. It's like a 1-3 shot basically, or 1-4 shot that he's going to end up on the Saints. It's pretty plausible.
Okay. I know Bucks. I'm not taking any mock draft for the Giants. Don't take a quarterback. I'm not taking it seriously, but Vegas is kind of on board. I think I would be in on the Saints. I think he pretty easily takes Derek Carr's job in an offense that could be beneficial. I don't hate that landing spot at all. Not at all. But you're up here, Jacob.
I'm torn here. The second best quarterback in this class is still on the board. But I think that I'm going to go with, personally, my second favorite running back in the class. I know I already took the RB2 of this draft in Omarion Hampton. I have him RB2 for Dynasty. If I were an NFL team, though, and I was less concerned about, all the things like who's going to be my bell cow, who's going to be my workhorse, and I just wanted, who do I think is going to be the best player? I think the second best running back in this draft class is TreVeyon Henderson. To me, a combination of elite athleticism, elite processing ability, play recognition, a really efficient mover, and a dude who combines that with home run ability. The red flags on him didn't have more than 12 carries in a single game this season, didn't have 100 yards in a single game this season, and seemed to thrive most when they put him in a committee with Judkins. And so how does that translate for fantasy? When you're dealing with a back who might just work best in a timeshare, I'm not sure. And that's why, to me, I don't value him quite as highly as I do for fantasy as I would in the NFL. But, we've seen undersized backs, non-prototypical workhorse backs recently really have success in an NFL that is currently moving back towards the running back position, in which there's a lot of touches available from multiple backs, multiple offenses. We saw, James Cook have a really productive season last year. We've seen Devon Achane develop into a workforce into the league. We've seen Jahmyr Gibbs produce top 5 seasons while basically splitting work 50-50 with David Montgomery. I'm going to bet on what I think is the most talented player left and take Henderson here.
Yeah, I think that this really sets up well for Denver as his landing spot. I think Denver's coming out of this draft with 2 running backs. And this is not just because I'm a homer, but I think TreVeyon in that Joker role for Sean Payton would be amazing. Sure, they could fall back on Audric Estime as being like an early down guy or in between the tackles guy. I think with the depth of this class, they can very easily find another person later on in the draft to kind of fill that role, maybe a Damian Martinez later on in the draft to be that, not necessarily plotter, but try to, work in between the tackles. And TreVeyon, just using him in space, scheming him up some touches, letting him get outside the tackles, working him into the pass game. So I think that would be an ideal landing spot. And I do think that a lot of teams, though, view him kind of as that role. So I think that wherever he lands up, I'm not too concerned about it. And this would have absolutely been my pick, Jacob, if he was still there for 12. I think that's great, especially getting him that late.
Yeah, like
Appreciate
it. This draft is going to be like we've heard it pretty much everywhere is how big it's going to be for dynasty rankings. I believe Theo Greminger said he's got like 3 or 4 of these guys in like his top 15 in his dynasty rankings already. Like dynasty running backs right now it's kind of ass. Not kind of ass. It is ass. So I can see it. These picks are going to be, pick your favorite running backs at this point. Speaking of, Buckler, you're up.
All right, so I was going to take Henderson if he was there, but I'll take the my number 1 non-Travis Hunter receiver. I'll take Egbuka. I know he's like super pigeonholed into this, like he's a safe player, the slot guy, like he has no ceiling. I don't really buy that. I think he produced with a lot of talent at Ohio State. I think we do that a lot where we did it with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I know he fell to day 3, but where we just like pigeonhole these dudes into they have no ceiling. I mean, I want to pick, especially we're here in this draft, and I don't like a lot of the players. I want to pick a player I know that's good. I feel very confident he's good. I feel very confident that he's going to be a top 20 pick in the draft, if not even higher than that. He's an ultra producer at a Power 5 conference. Obviously, say one more year. He did it with Garrett Wilson, JSN, Chris Olave. Like that's 3 first-round picks just right there. And we know he could go in, he could run routes, and he ran a 4.3. He could run routes. We know he could win. I think he could win on the outside too. I think he's, like I said, I think he's a lock to be, definitely a top 20 pick. I think he's closer to top 15. And I did want to bring up to you guys about he took a top 30 visit with the Packers. I know a lot of people hated that. I mean, I like it. I think it's good. I don't think a lot of the wide receivers on their team are any good. I know I don't trust LaFleur fully for like what he does with some players. Some of his personnel stuff isn't great, but I think, Jordan Love moves the ball around, but I think he does it because he has to. If he has a real receiver that's actually good, I believe that it could be a good spot for him. I don't think, Dobbs is ass. Jaden Reed is fake Debo, and they don't have anyone else. I like that. I think at the very least, like I said, I think he's definitely a top 20 pick, and definitely a wide receiver 2 type that you can get here. Again, like he's my wide receiver 1, non-Travis Hunter wide receiver 1 in the class. A really, really weak wide receiver 1, but still I think he's a really good player, and I think he's a player that we look back on in like 2 years, like, damn, how did he fall so far?
And I mean, when you look at potential quarterbacks getting taken in these spots of running backs, he's going to get pushed down the board. Even if he gets top 20, top 25 draft capital, I bet he still falls down the board like he has here. You've been saying him for a while. So 111 just seems to be an absolute sweet spot. And 111, a very attainable pick right now in terms of dynasty pick acquisition. It's not very easy, but compared to some of the others, absolutely, especially if you're taking the bet on like a McMillan or rolling the dice with Hunter playing wide receiver. I think it's a more than fine pick at 1.
Really like that pick.
Yeah, it's a damn good pick. A little bit of everything, right? The people that care about the blocking. Well, if you're not blocking, you're not going to get on the field type stuff. He kind of gives you a little bit of everything.
Egbuka is definitely the safest wide receiver in this class, and I feel like, I just want to second everything Andy said. Like, oftentimes it seems like at wide receiver we have a tendency to be like, oh, he's the safe guy, and then we use that as a way to cap the ceiling, and oftentimes we just aren't actually very good at disaggregating floor factors from ceiling factors. Like if we're saying a guy is the safest wide receiver in the class, that often means he probably has one of the highest ceilings as well, right? That means he can get open. That means he can catch the ball. I remember this is like a conversation that in many ways we had about Ladd last year, which is like, obviously he wasn't contending for wide receiver 1 because it was a way better class, but like it was like, this is a guy who can just consistently win, consistently get open in the ways that you score fantasy points. And like, why does upside have to look like, Mike Evans? Like it's great if you're Mike Evans, but like upside can also just come from repeatedly winning on over routes and catching 12-yard passes like 10 times per game. So really like the Egbuka pick.
Yeah, just an absolutely rock solid pick. Lucas?
So it becomes a little bit more difficult right here at 12 because I feel like the right answer is Jaxson Dart. But I've already drafted a quarterback, and I want to make sure I can draft a running back that I really believe in, even though this isn't like, adding up like these teams or whatever. But at the 112, like, I don't want to see this guy fall out of the first round. I'm going to go with Kaleb Johnson out of Iowa. He is somebody who, just from a film perspective, I have as the RB2 in this class. I do think, though, that he is probably one of the most dependent on landing spot. I don't really even know what the best landing spot's going to be. I did see a mock draft where he is going to the Kansas City Chiefs, and that kind of icks me out a little bit. I don't think that that's necessarily a good landing spot for him, especially with some of the other players there, and I just don't think that they fit his style. I think that there's other teams that would run a lot more sort of one-cut type style that would benefit him better. Jacob has some facial reactions, so he might disagree with me on that.
I think we're overthinking things a little bit if we don't want our running back landing on the Chiefs. I think I agree with you on like the scheme stuff. Like I want him in his own scheme, but like I will take Kaleb Johnson on the Chiefs. My belief, I can't remember if Tom already said this. I might be copying him, but maybe not. But I've just come to think that the Ravens are going to take him at the end of round 2.
Yeah. I absolutely can see that. Like somebody is getting ruined, right? In terms of their landing.
Well, I don't think that's ruining. I mean, it sucks for year 1, but like I would be very excited about that long term.
2 years. If they extend Henry, that's for a while.
He's just such a crazy open field dude. Like if anyone wants to watch the most fun I've had watching running back tape this entire draft class is his game against Minnesota is like insane tape where like he has like 4 different runs that would be like by a mile the best run that any single member of the 2024 running back class ever had. And like you just, if you put him in Baltimore where he gets to have that running start and you get that win more aspect playing next to Lamar Jackson, I think he'd be absolutely crazy. But I really love watching Caleb Johnson. He would be, I like Henderson more, but he would be probably my RB3 if I was doing like a real life, I get to be an NFL GM draft.
Yeah, one spot I'm not counting out for Caleb Johnson is Cleveland. Just no Nick Chubb. They don't, we know.
Oh, I would love
running.
Oh my God, that'd be such a good fit.
Talk about a one-cut system. There's an opening there. I can absolutely see them. Maybe not early in that second round, but man, I can definitely see a possibility of him being a Cleveland Brown, and that excites me. Especially if they do go, say, Carter. Yeah, that excites me a great amount.
What about round 2 to the Cowboys? How are we feeling about that? Because that's another place that I've seen him a lot.
It's not my favorite match. Like I kind of want like a pass catcher there, but I mean, I'll take it. I mean, you're walking into 250 touches.
I think he's a stealer. I think he's their type of guy. He got the dreads.
Just because he's already wearing a Steelers uniform at Iowa.
Yeah, and he's the perfect complement after Najee. I mean, they look the same. So that's what that's the type of running back. That's hashtag analysis.
Well, one of them can move though.
We don't disrespect Najee on this podcast. What I want that's a king right there.
I don't hate it. And what did I say about quarterbacks and not like?
Oh God,
I don't even have to hesitate. Like round 1 quarterbacks don't make it to the second round. So if someone's getting bumped here, Brett Whitefield said that he is more athletic than people even think Jaxson Dart is when we did the fantasy football daily mock draft. And he gave me a little bit of grief because I said that he's not quite a pylon, but he's not exactly electric running. And Brett definitely had some strong feelings about that. He said he's probably more like a Russell Wilson early in his career with his running ability and running style. And let me tell you, you get 400 to 600 rushing yards from a quarterback. That's pretty nasty. Obviously would love the Pittsburgh landing spot given the weapons they have. Arthur Smith is capable of fantasy production from the quarterback position, even if it's better off not watching the games. Again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what quarterback is good and what quarterback is bad, but there should almost be no world where Jaxson Dart, if he goes in that first round, makes the 201.
I also think that Tannehill is a fun comp for Jaxson Dart. So I don't know. Tannehill really ran that system well, so I think it would be at least fun there. But yeah, like I said at the 112, he's the right pick at 112. I just wanted to make sure that I could draft Caleb Johnson because that's my guy.
Yeah, I have Jaxson Dart ranked 9th overall. I think he's like I said, I think he's the second best quarterback in the class in terms of accuracy, footwork, adding the rushing element. I think he's the best rushing quarterback of the top 3 pretty significantly. And to me, the question is just entirely, can he actually adapt to be a processor at the NFL level coming out of that pretty fake offense that Lane Kiffin runs? And it's just unknowable because I think even if you're the best processor in the world, Lane Kiffin's going to run what Lane Kiffin's going to run. So you're not going to have the chance to show NFL teams that on tape. To me, it just comes down to the draft capital. If he's able to demonstrate at the whiteboard in the interviews that he has that cerebral element to his game that NFL teams are willing to trust, then I'm willing to trust it because in terms of the physical tools, he can make every single throw on the field. He can do it accurately. And his pocket management to me is a very big edge over Sanders, as is his arm talent and legs. So I'm pretty pumped about Jaxson Dart. I would, after finishing my review of him, I don't think it's going to happen, but I really, really want the Indianapolis Colts to take him at pick 14.
Real.
Yeah, I would buy the jersey. That's my dream. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would be very pumped up if they did that. And I want them to do that if Sanders is on the board.
Oh, wow. I mean, if you're interested into that tight end spot, baby, move over because you're done at quarterback, baby.
And I'll go 10 toes down on this. If Dart goes anywhere in the first round to any team, I don't care where Shedeur Sanders is drafting. I'm taking Dart ahead of him. If Dart goes pick 32 and Sanders goes pick 3, I'm taking Dart.
Okay, 10 toes down. Standing on the I respect it.
That being said, I'm filibustering talking about Lucas' pick because you guys took the 3 players that I would have happily taken here before. For me, this is like a big teardrop. So I don't really know who to take here. Oh, man. I think I'm just going to take... I guess I'll just take the guy who I feel best about the draft capital projection. I don't really know what the NFL is doing with this, but it seems like Matthew Golden's going to be a first-round pick. He might even go as high as number 12 to the Dallas Cowboys. And we're now in the second round. So if I can get a round 1 wide receiver versus a bunch of other players that I don't really feel particularly any type of way about anyways, I'll just roll with the draft capital here. I think this is a substantially worse pick than like any of the 4 previous guys who I think are very much in a different tier, but I'll take Golden here.
Yeah, Daniel Jeremiah's last mock, I believe he had him mock to the Cowboys at 13. Hard not to love that spot. I think it's a fair pick at this point in the draft. I think you're just playing for upside here, so I agree. And he's, from what I understand with Brett and Scott, he's a lot more than just a deep ball route runner. He can do a lot more things than just that. He's not, he's coming out as Xavier Worthy, if you would. He's doing
the hope is that he is like a zone beating technician with speed. Like I'm hoping he's like a Jordan Addison or like an Emmanuel Sanders. Like I don't know if that's probably like a really high end outcome for him because the production profile is rough, but that's if he hits, that's kind of what I'm hoping he hits as.
Emmanuel Sanders is a super fun comp, I gotta say. I haven't heard that one yet. I think that's a really fun comp. And he is a lot better route runner. He's a smoother, more fluid athlete than most people who are running a 4.29 look on tape. You would just love to have seen better production. So,
look, people forget how good Emmanuel Sanders was, man. He was an absolute demon prior to being absolutely KO'd in the dirtiest way possible. Insane clip, that one, by the way. If you want your head to hurt, watch that one. Buck, you are up here at the 2-3. We're moving along today. We're trying. Look, I understand. Normally, this show it's 3 hours. It's 2 hours. It's a lot of yelling. It's a lot of bad. This is a little bit different. Jacob is kind enough to do this early in the morning across the country. But we're here. We're plugging through for you guys, getting our first mock draft in the books. Remember, Scott Barrett is on next week. We're going to discuss his rookie wide receiver article next week. There might even be a People VRTDB. We're not too sure just yet. We're going to have some fun stuff planned for that. Until then, sit back and enjoy the rest of this mock draft. We're at 2-3, and Buck, you are on the board.
Yeah, so I was going to take Golden for all the reasons that Jacob said. I think here, right, I like a couple players. I know we're not supposed to talk about players who aren't drafted yet, but guys like Harris and the fake T. Higgins, I think at the end of the day, they're just going to be wide receiver like 40 in Dynasty that are like, we look back in a couple years, like, wow, they were a second-round pick, like Van Jefferson or whatever. I don't really know what the upside is. So I'll take Scatterbo just because maybe he's a round 3 pick. He's a running back. At the very least, he's an injury away from being in my lineups, probably would be in my lineups even without the injury. And I think he'll probably I think it seems like the NFL might like him and be a day 3, round 3 pick. I think there's a shot maybe that he's also a day 3 pick, but I don't know what the wide receivers really bring upside wise, even though they're probably going to have higher draft capital. But I don't know. I'd rather just take the shot at the running back and call it a day.
Yeah, that's just smart team building.
Sure.
And you're getting a value here too. If at 2-3, if Scatterbo hits, I think this year I am taking an approach much like I did last year, which was just hammer all of the running backs in the second and third round. Now, a lot of those second-round running backs didn't pan out. The Jalen Wrights, right? Marshawn Lloyd, who I'm pretty sure they need to
show favorite Marshawn Lloyd.
He never got a chance. Not wrong if he didn't play. Just saying, not wrong if he never got a chance. I mean, look at Jalen Wright, too. That was the big battle, right? It was Jalen Wright versus Marshawn Lloyd, and we were all left wishing we took more Bucky Irving. So I'm just taking those shots on those running backs, like Buck said. It only takes an injury, a good camp, half-decent draft capital, and all of a sudden these guys are valuable. I had this discussion on X this week that not all handcuffs are even built the same. Some just end up being more valuable because they're just better. Not saying that Scatable even comes out and is a handcuff right away. I've seen people rave about him, absolutely rave about him. He's a complete package type player. Just needs the shot. I don't mind it at 2-3 here. And you're right, Buck. He's in every single one of your lineups as at least the RB2. You'd be rich. If you had a second, Buck, I could definitely see you make. I don't even know why we have Buck for this mock draft in the second round. He doesn't have any second round picks.
Yeah, they're all gone for Dusty vet running backs. They're all sold for Aaron Jones last year.
Najee Harris. That's
a good that's a lick if you got Najee for a second. That's he's right there. That's rich as hell.
Does he have pictures of you, or like what is this?
No, Buck just loves fat and slow running backs that he trades for twos. If you want to hear more about Buck's backs, you need to be tuning into the market report that comes out every Saturday morning, because as much as Buck loves to know wide receivers' birthdays, he really loves shitty running backs that you can trade for a second round pick. Lucas, you're up.
All right, I'm going to take a player that I don't actually believe in at this pick, just because if I'm wrong, man, it's going to be really good for this pick. And that's going to be Luther Burden. Just in terms of physical upside, he's not somebody that I think is going to even be here in a lot of drafts that people are going to be in, just because somebody's going to fall in love with, oh, here's what he can be. I think that he really requires a skilled offensive coordinator who can scheme him some touches. If he puts things together, it's going to be awesome. I don't know. I don't have a lot of belief that he will. But if I'm wrong, I'm perfectly okay. Like it sucks to flush 204 down the drain, but I'd much rather flush a 204 down the drain than a 104 down the drain. And I'm willing to take the risk here.
That's. I mean, I've never been a big Burden guy, but that's a very good value on the Reformation right there.
Is there a spot? I have one spot that I like him the most. I'd be interested to hear if anybody else has one.
I don't know. What's the one you got?
Houston. I actually really like it. I think a Houston spot where he doesn't have to be the guy or even try to be the guy is good for him. And obviously Stroud can hit an underneath receiver, man. So I think the way that they use, or at least used, screens with Stroud in the past, they've got the alpha and Nico. Tank Dell's career is over. So I think they could use somebody like Luther Burden.
What are you guys' thoughts on the nickname the Reformation? That's something I'm trying to work out.
I kind of like it.
It's a little long, but it's not bad. It's not bad.
I will say his senior year numbers, those weren't due to poor play. A lot of that was due to he was banged up for a lot of it, kind of sapped a little bit of some of what makes him so special from an athletic standpoint. Also, his quarterback was banged up too. It's just, sometimes you have a perfect storm that hurts those numbers, but I don't know. We'll see how this kind of pans out. But at 204, I know what I'm getting myself into here.
Yeah, I mean, I would have taken him next time if he was still on the board for sure. It's a good value. Great value.
It's not bad. Guys, this is a great time for me to remind you that I punt quarterback a lot. Like
in 3 straight?
I'd punt quarter. I have so many teams that need Aaron Rodgers to sign somewhere, or I'm in big trouble. Like Russ is gonna start games for me in the Superflex spot this year. I can already tell you that. A lot of Justin Fields grabbing last year to put in this spot. I'm sorry, but Jalen Milroe has the most upside in the second round, aside from Jaxson Dart at this point. Now, look, he sucks at quarterback. He can't throw the ball. Don't care. He runs. And I'm sorry. Do you know how hard it is for these receivers to average like a 15, 16, 17 point per game season? Jalen Milroe can do that just by getting the chance to play. He accepted the invitation to Green Bay. We have seen first-round grades on him throughout the process. There are definitely some spots that could fit. Brett Whitefield and Joe Marino talked about possibility of him sitting on the steel. Like, look, he just needs an opportunity to play and he gains value. He can be terrible. He is freakishly athletic. He can run, and we love that. What are the it is
Meadowlands Milroe.
Meadowlands Milroe, exactly. The Giants could look at Milroe in the second round.
That would be so ass.
Round. The possibility.
Malik Willis accepted an invite to the draft as well too. Let's just say.
Yeah, I don't.
So did Matt Corral.
Do you know what you were able to trade Malik Willis for at one point? I know you do because you were in the league.
That was before the draft.
He was going very highly.
A little Lamar Jackson, possibly. Maybe you could have got for him before the draft.
I'm sorry, but a quarterback, even if he goes in the second round, in a super flex, I'm taking that quarterback because all he has to do is play. So I'll happily take Jalen Milroe. I mean, every profile, look, I look at it like this. Every profile from here and the rest of this mock draft, we're going to go, well, if he gets the land, well, hopefully he can, the role that he might get, he could, maybe hopefully a team sees the possibility. And you don't have to do that with if he gets to play, he just gets to play. Right. And it's Superflex where you're starting bums a lot of times, especially if you're a punt QB type player and stacking your roster with wide receivers and everything else you can on your roster. All you need is 14 to 16 points per game for this pick to pay off. And with the way that he can run in any decent situation, he's going to do well.
And he already has the best arm talent in the entire draft. Like, hands down, he has the strongest arm. He can make
this is accuracy not included when we're talking about arm talent.
I mean, we definitely have some issues. He has some refinement to do, but it's not as bad as I feel like a lot of people will lead you to believe. I do think that changing to a different system after his sophomore year, that system asking him to do a little bit too much definitely hurt him. I think that there's a alternate universe right now where Nick Saban doesn't retire, and we're talking about Jalen Milroe potentially being one of the first 4 picks in this rookie draft, honestly. But I think that looking at the beginning of the second round, you have Cleveland there, you have the Giants there. I think both of those are really, really interesting spots. And we'll see if the Titans do something crazy and trade out of the first pick. I don't think they're going to, but that's another potential spot. Like, there's a lot of really early second round picks right now that I think Jalen Milroe can go there, and they potentially can put him in a position where there's a very clear plan that he would be in line to start next year, or he would be starting, the last 5 games of the season or something, and you can have a massive return on investment at 205.
Yeah,
y'all let a naysayer know.
Yeah, we're gonna let him know. Especially when you let me get him at 2.5. Like, I'm sorry if I get again any starting quarterback at 2.5. I'm just happily gonna take
starting.
Yeah,
he's definitely a quarterback.
Milroe starting.
If he gets the chance to start at all, that pick is going to pay off.
No, I'm kidding with you guys. I mean, I think Milroe is hot, flaming ass, but I totally think he's worth a stab just based on the rushing ability alone in the middle of the
let's just transparent and fair. Anthony Richardson was known as.
He's worse than Richardson though.
No, he was a better prospect than Anthony Richardson.
Oh, I don't
Richardson,
think not even close.
No, Richardson was good on tape, but Miller was probably the worst throw I've ever seen.
Look.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'm not sure. Like if I'm an NFL team, I mean, I don't know if I'd take Miller in the first 7 rounds, but like from a fantasy perspective, I'm all in on this pick. Like it's totally worth it.
Like they're going to. There's too much smoke for it. Even the 3rd round, I'm still going to be just okay burning this pick. Just any opportunity to play for a rushing quarterback, I'm just going to take it.
No, it's totally. I mean, it's all upside from the middle of the 2nd round here. I think he's a totally good pick, even if I think he's a abhorrent quarterback.
I don't think he's a good quarterback either. I really don't. But I mean, take off, young man. Go for it, please.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, I've been doing like nothing but kind of boring picks where I've just been like eating my vegetables, taking guys I don't even like because they're like the highest draft capital ADP pick. I feel like for most of my picks. So this time I'm gonna have fun. I don't think there's like anyone that I care about. All the like quote unquote best picks available, I just think aren't very good. So I'm gonna just take my favorite remaining running back in the class. 4.16 yards after contact per attempt this year. Also in the upper quartile of this class. Breakaway run rate, chunk run rate, missed tackles forced rate, and does it with one of the best receiving profiles in this class. I'm going to take DJ Giddens, running back out of Kansas State. I don't know if he's going to sneak into day 2. I really hope so. If he does, I think he's the back remaining with the best mix of all-around workhorse receiving ability, as well as being able to actually provide efficient play on the ground. So I'll take Giddens here as a fun stab.
I don't mind it. Definitely not the running back chat wanted. Not the running back I would have had picked here, but damn, not bad. Nico also said Matt Waldman calls Milrose motion Marino-esque. Hey, there we go. That's all the smoke I need, man. This is what I'm telling you.
Marino-esque?
I'm telling you.
Over to Dan Marino.
Only smoke.
Trey Sermon, RB1.
Okay.
Hakeem Butler, wide receiver 1.
All right. Buck, you're up.
Okay, so I'll take the player that I'm not 100% sure is actually a real player, and I didn't know who he was until the combine, but Twitter told me that everyone should know who he was, and he was everybody's favorite running back.
Darn tootin'.
Yep, everyone told me he was their favorite running back, and now he already forgot about him. So I'm going to take fake Tootin over here in the 2nd round, who I think is probably the guy that just ends up getting drafted in day 3, and he's the Harold Fannin Jr. of running backs.
Nah, sort of bit Izzy Abanikanda ass player, but he's really fun.
So I'll take him. He's fast, and he's a Twitter ass player. He's I already forgot his name. Oh my god, what's the dude from the Chargers? The shitty dude, Vidal. There you go.
Vidal.
There you go. I already forgot he existed.
This is more expensive. Vidal. I mean, upside alone. Look, again, it's just, man, some of these running backs are going to get nerfed by the NFL draft.
For sure.
It's just a matter of who. So you are just
catch the rocket fuel.
Exactly. So again, just keep hammering these running backs. Lucas, you're up. Also, what up, D bro?
So we need to put some respect on Brashard Tutin's name right now. Like, oh my goodness, that completely underscores what he is as a player. His explosive runs actually like kept Virginia Tech in any sort of relevance throughout most of the back half of the college football season, whenever they lost Kyron Drones. This guy is so electric with the ball in his hands. I have no idea where he's going to go. He does have a little bit of a fumbling issue, so we'll see how that impacts some of the analysis. But this guy is so explosive, and the advanced analytics back it up. This is somebody, if he gets draft capital, is going to absolutely skyrocket. And his film is so good, especially for a player of his size. Like, I know that it's funny to look at Twitter and people are finally talking about him because he ran a 4.32 and they're like, oh my goodness, yeah, I've always known exactly who this guy is, but the film is good. The production is outstanding. He has kept Virginia Tech from being completely irrelevant. I mean, they're not necessarily relevant, and I can have a lot of fun living in Virginia, reminding people that. But this guy is legit.
He's just somebody that's going to get propped up because of his metrics alone, which Theo Greminger has been hammering teams falling in love with big play potential. Is definitely one of those guys. Fumbling, huge issue, but again, you just need that team that's able to. I'm a big believer that fumbling can be fixed. Fumbling is a fixable issue. Like, it's just it can be. I'm not super.
Ronald Jones still thinks that he's still hanging on.
Look, I'm glad that
I want to clarify something real quick here. Derek Brown says propped up or respected. I'm going to say propped up because, like we mentioned, the general consensus of Dynasty players didn't know who he was until he ran. His Raz card came out before people became aware of him. I feel like at this point he's being popped up a little bit.
I think it's a bit of both in that, like, look, I mean, I just have like a visceral reaction where I want to hate every player who becomes memeified, and like Tootin is like a total like memeified player where, like, you know, everybody who like has read a Twitter thread and wants to seem cool, it's like, yeah, my favorite band is the Byshell Tootins as well. But like, legitimately his like Lucas was saying, like his actual advanced metrics profile is legitimately awesome. Like there's a few running backs in this class in this big tier of like 10, 12 guys in the middle that really stand out for the pack, and Tootin is absolutely one of them. So, and looks like a rocket ship on tape. So I think, like, as much as I also find the Tootin tweets often aggravating, I do think he legitimately is a pretty good bet.
Yeah, I think he's a good player too. Derek Brown said people aren't doing their work. Yeah, generally speaking, that's what we're here for. So
even if you aren't a film guy, watch the highlights of Tootin, and it's a lot of fun. All right, it'll be 10 minutes of your time well spent. You're going to enjoy it. It'll get you back in football fever. But now on to another running back who I think is going to go significantly higher than Tootin, and then also Giddens. And I get to be a little bit of a homer for my college team, and I'm going to go with Dylan Sampson. Guy was breaking all kinds of records at Tennessee this year. I do think that he upped his weight a little bit to be able to handle that type of workload too. I'm really curious, like, where he's going to try to settle into the NFL at. Whenever he was a little bit lighter, whenever they're using him primarily as a change of pace back, as a third down back, he was awesome. He was lightning in a bottle. Once again, throwing out multiple cliches here for two running backs in a row, but he was a lot of fun. He was extremely effective in that third down role. Whenever he put on weight, he was still effective. He has really good contact balance. It's not elite, but it's definitely good. He is crazy elusive inside the hole. I'm a little concerned with some of his like absolute like home run speed with his weight what it was by the end of last season. It could just be also the workload that he had to put on. He just looked a little slower as the season wore on. So that's my only concern. I do think that there's a team that's going to fall in love with him. I think that he's definitely going to have a good role. And Debro, I like Sampson a little bit better than RJ Harvey. Yeah, like RJ Harvey's still great. I have a little bit more issues with Giddens and Tootin going over Harvey than Sampson, but I just like Sampson. And the tape's also really fun there. He can be a grinder. He can do just a little bit of everything too. So,
I mean, yeah. I'll defend the Sampson pick. Sampson's going to go. I mean, his metric stuff aren't quite as great as the other guys, but he also is a dude that had to carry the rock over and over and over again, right? I mean, this is a guy that was an absolute volume hog this year, really carried the offense of a CFP team. And from an NFL draft perspective, like, I mean, there's a ton of uncertainty with this big middle of this running back tier, and everybody has their dudes. But like, reality is, like, the NFL draft community, it seems like Sampson a lot more than a lot of people in the fantasy community do. He is by far, after the first 6 running backs in this class, the highest probability bet to go on day 2. So I think it's a totally reasonable pick.
I just want to point out so there's no confusion, right? We have a PSA here for a reason. We have fun here, and you should too. We make jokes and probably don't watch enough film. We're not draft prognosticators. So it's important to keep that in mind. For fantasy football purposes, nobody gets things 100% of the time. Nobody is always right. And we're making our best educated guesses that we can before we have the real information. Right? There's a reason why we don't do 10 mock drafts and we don't do a lot of that stuff here on this channel because, yeah, we don't know anything yet. We're taking our best chances. So that being said, I'm taking RJ Harvey. I'm taking Brett Whitefield's number 3 back. And he is the highest on him that I've seen. And it's really hard to dispute some of his comments. Doak Award semifinalist in 23-24, all Big Ten honorable mention in 2023, all Big 12 first team in 2024. He has him as a day 2, 49th overall. It's the 3rd running back. I mean, you're talking about someone who just hammers running backs or quarterbacks in these drafts as much as possible when they fall. Getting a gift like this at this stage of a rookie mock draft is pretty phenomenal for me, and I'll happily just take him at 2.9. Right? This is exactly the type of player that you're really hoping, like I said, goes on that day 2, day 3 to one of those open spots, and you just cash in. I'm hammering these running backs at this point in the draft.
Yeah, Harvey would have been my next pick too. I mean, we're fully in running back mode here.
Have to.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. This is so 10 running backs off the board now, right? Unless I've missed one. I think I'm at 10. So I think at this point in time, I have like 2 running backs left in this kind of mega tier. There's no quarterback. All right, I'll get crazy with it. The running backs remaining, there's a couple guys that I like, but I don't think they're the guys that have quite as high upside as the run of dudes that have all just come off the board in succession. I don't like, well, there's one wide receiver I like, but I don't like any of the rest of them. And even the guy I like, I don't know if he's even going to go in day 2. So fuck it. I'll just take the guy who had 1,500 yards and gets an extra half point on all of his receptions. I'll take Harold Fannin here.
Okay. I don't mind it. I don't mind this pick at all. I don't mind this. I don't mind this pick at all. Absolutely.
I mean, I think there's like a very good chance he's like literally never fantasy useful. I think that's the modal chance. But like in terms of who has the biggest impact if they hit their top 5% outcome, I think it's probably Fannin by virtue of just like an insane production profile, the fact he plays tight end, and just how I feel about this wide receiver class.
Another really fun highlight video to watch is Fannin from this year, especially that Penn State game. That was so much fun. Holy cow. Like, what a treat we got in week 2 of college football season, seeing that and seeing a eventual like college football playoff team like almost crapping themselves, watching Fannin torch them consistently. He's good after the catch. I think that he can be really useful and underneath. Every single scouting report I'm reading right now talks about how stiff his lower half is, which, I mean, fair enough. He's also going to be one of the youngest.
Discourse.
He is going to be one of the youngest prospects too. I think that there's still a lot more growth that he has. I think that he has some athletic growth as well. And yeah, I thought that I was going to steal him there at 212. So good on you, Jacob.
Max Toscano came on here and we talked Fannin. We've had Brett talk Fannin. We've heard Scott Barrett talk Fannin. Production is one thing. The spot's gonna matter, but I think Jacob's right. If he hits his upper percentile outcome, I mean, talk about an upside play. Because again, the dynasty tight end landscape, it sucks. It's just, let's be real, it's terrible. Tight end is infinitely not deep this year, and it will never be deep any year, no matter how many times we say it. I mean, going into this process, it was like this tight end class is insanely deep. It's going to be really good. And now it's like, yeah, there's 2 to 3 guys. It just happened already, and it's the span of a few weeks. Buck, who do you got?
Yeah, just to not take another running back. There's really only one more running back that I kind of like. I'll take Jaden fake T Higgins here. He has the production's really good for him. He's older. He'll be 23 in his rookie season. I think there's a good shot. He's like a 2nd round pick, maybe a 3rd round pick. A lot of the guys, if he goes 3rd round, we would care a lot less. But I do think he can play. You know, he's a bigger body receiver. That, like, I'm not a prospect guy, but I do think he looks good on film. I think the production is really good. I know he started at Eastern Kentucky, I think it was, and then the Cheers are Iowa State. It was like 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns his last season, was senior season, but only his 2nd year playing. So I think he's just maybe a guy that I don't want to compare him to Xavier Legette because Xavier Legette's bad, but there was excuses you could have made for Legette last year as to why his production was only 1 year, right? He had all the stuff with his parents and everything where he only played 1 season. He was super old, but he only played 1 year. I think that's similar to like the Jaden Higgins thing. Maybe he's like a diamond in the rough because of that. That's why his production took so long, if that makes sense. Obviously, I don't want to compare him to Xavier Legette, man, but I do think there's like kind of parallels there. You can make excuses. That's why it took so long.
I think that's fine. I think it's a fair pick. Again, late too. That's 211 Higgins. I like that pick. I like that pick a lot, especially with how many teams are needing good wide receiver help right now. Lucas, you're up.
It's becoming tough because we're getting into where there's like a lot of flattening, I believe, for a lot of these tiers. So I'm just going to take somebody who I've been high on for a while now, somebody who I thought potentially would go into the draft last season and ended up going back to Kansas. And that's Devin Neal. I know how excited, all the film bros are on him. And that's really like the reason why I love him so much. I don't think that he's going to be hitting home runs like crazy in the NFL, but I just think he is such a good running back. I think that especially like for the Broncos, I'm going to keep talking about them because whoever they draft for their offense, I'm going to be paying attention to. And I think that they're going to be really good for fantasy this season. But I think that if you pair him with, more of like the Joker type role, I just think that he's going to be getting yards. He knows how to play the position really, really well. And at 212, I don't necessarily need to take the biggest swing on upside here. I think that that's somebody who's going to be scoring points and somebody that I could potentially flip later on.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. We're going to go into the 3rd round. And I'm going to take a look. We talk about all the time how we are not prospectors. We're value players. We're dynasty market players. That's what we do. And I'm going to lean on somebody who I trust a lot in terms of wide receiver evaluation. And it's Brett Whitefield. So I'm taking Jalen Noel here at the 3-1. Hard to really go wrong at the 3-1, but man, you can go very right. I just want to read you the strength portion, one of the strength portions that Brett Whitefield has labeled here for Jalen Noel. He says his athletic profile lacks nothing. He is an elite athlete in just about every way it is measured at a football level. He is one of my favorite athletic profiles in recent memory at the position, highly explosive with excellent start-stop ability, jumps out of the gym. He has the agility of Spider-Man. He has a 4.3 speed, and the cherry on top is that he was pound for pound the strongest player on Iowa State's football team. All this is backed by both GPS and combine testing. He's built incredibly well with 100 on his 195-pound frame. He's just 5'10", but the man can move. He talks about how he can play deep. He can play inside, outside, snappy route runner. I mean, at the 3-1, There's no reason why his upside isn't dissimilar from any of the receivers taken in the second round here. So I'll take Jalen Noel. Obviously, we're going to say it 100 times. Landing spots, they definitely matter. But talk about a team that need another explosive wide receiver. Look, I said Burden in Houston. You get one of these teams that need another wide receiver. Green Bay, right? Because let's face it, they don't take wide receivers in the first round. Come on. Third round, Jalen Noel in Green Bay. Would anybody be surprised? No. But I would love it. I would absolutely love it. So I'll take a shot 3-1 here at Noel. Every time.
Like the pick, I'm going to go rapid fire here because it's
we are in the third round.
AM, and I got a hike to start at like 7:30 in 6 hours, so I'm gonna try to get my ass to sleep. But I don't know if anybody's logged into Twitter recently, but you might know that Trey Harris had 5.12 yards per route run this year. That's like the one stat that every fucking donkey knows. So I'm gonna repeat that. I'm gonna take Trey Harris. I don't know. He seems to be falling in NFL circles. But I still think he has a chance to go day 2. I think he's really, really exciting. I think he's a potential deep ball winner, which I don't know how many of those there actually are in this class on day 2 if you look at a lot of the other dudes' profiles. So I still like Trey Harris. I'll rock with him here at 3-2.
That's a fine pick. It is the third round. We don't have to do profile breakdowns for all these guys. We did say that at the top. Again, not going to be our 2-hour-long episode with Jakob doing this podcast, another part of the world. So shout out to Jakob for toughing this one through. Buck, you're up.
Yeah, it's going to be my pick. I like him a lot. I'll pick, not to be confused with OKC Thunder great Terrence Ferguson. I'll take the tight end Terrence Ferguson. He just, I don't know, maybe he gets, I think I've been saying that he might go a little higher in the draft than we thought. He was good in the combine. Maybe he lands in a spot where he's just like a target hog. Like maybe he goes to Dallas. They like players like him. So I'll take him. It's the third round and it's tight end premium.
All right. I like it. Lucas?
It's thinning out a little bit. There's a couple of players that I'm just like looking on here, and I don't want to be a nerd and pick them because
be the nerd. We know you are, Lucas. We know you're the forever rebuilder.
I mean,
this is your time to shine, baby.
We could talk for 3 more hours and we could be going over these picks at this point. But I'm going to have to go with Alec Ao Manor. I know I butchered the name.
Canada.
I wanted to take him, but I can't say the
native land.
Yeah, but the community is
love
so high on him.
in all of us command.
So I'm going to ride with the community on that. I really don't think he's going to be here in drafts. I do think that some of these running backs are eventually going to be bumped down a little bit, and he will end up being a second-round pick. But that's who I got going at 304.
Unfortunately, that's actually 309 with the tariff imported on Canadian goods. So
nice.
Brett Whitefield's number 2 graded wide receiver. So again, we're talking about somebody who's very good at grading these wideouts. Brett likes them. Can't go wrong here. John Cooper wants Damian Martinez. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to go Damian Martinez. I can't take quarter. Like, look, even I'm looking at Quinn Ewers and I want to throw
can't
up.
Take fucking Tyler Shuck, bro. Get the fuck out if you take Tyler Shuck.
All right.
Man's older than my dad.
I was going to make the joke, but I'm not allowed. All right. There we go. I will take Damian Martinez.
I was going to take Damian Martinez. I really like Martinez. That closes up a tier running back for me. So I don't have any analysis for this pick because I'd rather just share this fun fact. So Mason Taylor, I learned today, is Jason Taylor's son. And the funniest part of that for me is that Jason Taylor just changed his name by 1 letter. So he was like, I'm going to drop the J. I'm going to put in an M. And then he named him Mason Taylor.
Not quite a Jew.
That'd be like if I had a son and I named him Jakob Sanderson. And then Mason Taylor's uncle is Zach Thomas, which means clearly when he was playing on the Dolphins, Jason Taylor smashed Zach Thomas's sister. And what I've been trying to find out all day is whether her name is Mac Thomas.
Oh my
Anyway, so I'm taking Mason Taylor, tight end LSU.
I don't even know how to follow that up, man. I mean, that's so good. But again, tight end premium leagues, you got to take the shot. And look, if you're a fan of one of my favorite podcasts, if you haven't listened to, it's Crime and Sports. The history on players being named junior and having it not work out right is over 50%. So avoid the juniors if
You
you
just gotta switch the J for an M.
Yeah.
Would you ever name your son Mom Tipple?
No, I would not do that to them. I also wouldn't name my kid Tipple simply due to the bullying that I did receive, as I will be officially taking my wife's last name to avoid that. Nobody wants to be called Nipply Tipply, and I would not do that to my future children. No, would not do that. Buck, you're up.
Yeah, so I'm going to take a player I'm pretty sure is ass, but it's really just because I want to talk about. I really just want to kind of talk about the Texas receivers. I'm going to take Isaiah Bond.
That's a good pick.
I know it seems like I know he was going to say he was going to break the record. He didn't. I don't know what he ran. I know he didn't run what he said. He said
like not even sub 4.4.
But he started at Alabama, ended up at Texas. Again, this is the second year in a row where we're with the Texas receivers that have no production. Last year it was Adonai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy, and now we're here with Bond and Golden. And I know like people want to do the Quinn Ewers thing, and I'm not sitting here saying Quinn Ewers is good, but I think he's a good college quarterback, right? Like he's better than a lot of other college quarterbacks. Like he at least is getting some type of draft, like he's invited to the combine, that type of stuff. I'm not sitting here saying he's a good player, but there's a lot of other wide receivers that are playing with more dog shit college quarterbacks than Quinn Ewers. So I don't know, like at one point it is, because Ewers again isn't good, but he's definitely better than what other teams are rolling out. If that even makes sense, what do you guys think about that? Because I don't know, like how.
Dude,
that makes
like I feel like I'm taking crazy pills for 2 consecutive years, where it's like it's now been 4 wide receivers and 2 tight ends that people are like, look, man, you can't judge any of their stats. They play with Quinn Ewers. This guy's the worst quarterback of all time. And then all of a sudden, you like open up a mock draft and you're like, yeah, I think Quinn Ewers might go round 3, and you're like, are you fucking what? Like this quarterback is so fucking bad. You're telling me that he's so bad that I have to draft all these shitty wide receivers who didn't produce anything on this dumb team, and then you're telling me that their quarterback is going to get drafted? Like what? It's preposterous. I think the Quinn Ewers stuff is like so weird, where people talk outside both sides of their mouth with him. Where like I get it, like he's not good. I don't think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback, but. Yeah, the way people talk about him, they act like he's like the 118th vet. Like they act about him like he was Alex Orgy, and it's like that ain't the case. Like,
what a pull! That's crazy. What a great pull. You're right though. I think some of the one, he plays at Texas, right? So he's obviously going to get a lot more eyes on him.
And he's blocking Arch, who everybody wants to play.
Right, he's blocking Arch, and then he was the mullet. He was the prospect. He was the, maybe one of the first. Not one of the first NIL guys, but he was like one of the first that
finessed him. Finessed him, honestly.
He had such an aura about him. He had such marketing behind him, really, and people really want him to. And then people will be like, "Well, his shoulder injuries, is this, is that? Look how far he carried Texas, etc." So I definitely understand the conversation with Quinn Ewers. He's definitely like. He's a college football fantasy players. Like he's not as bad as it looks type thing, where everyone else can kind of look outside of college football, and he's probably not gonna make it. I won't say he won't make it, because again, I don't evaluate quarterbacks well, but pretty sure I'm 90% confident that Quinn Ewers is never going to see my starting lineup in fantasy football. Pretty confident, and my quarterbacks are shit. Lucas?
All right. I think we're getting into, this is truly like my guys type territory, and I don't necessarily get to take credit on this player. But Jack Bech out of TCU, he's somebody that I like right now. I'm going with a bunch of film bro type players. I don't necessarily like the comparison to Cooper Kupp, because that seems a little bit lazy to me. I do think that Eric Decker
is a reverse racism.
I don't know. But I think that Eric Decker is potentially a fun comp for him. I like his route running. He does have strong hands. He is subtle with his yards after the catch. Like, he's not doing anything crazy, but he's going to get you what's there and then just a little bit more, honestly. And at this point, going this late, we'll see what other NFL teams view him as, but I think that he can definitely produce in year one.
Yeah, I think he's like a bit of a mix between like a Danny Amendola with a Chris Hogan with a little bit of like Wes Welker, but there's some Alec Pierce to his game as well.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick. I think it's a good pick. Brett loves him. So again, if Brett gives me the thumbs up on somebody, I have no problem taking him in the third round. I have a tough spot here.
You guys want to know a fun Jack Bech fact?
Yeah.
Yeah. So first year with all these dudes on the team. Oh, I picked the wrong year. Here we go. 2021 LSU Tigers. Right. This team has Keyshawn Boutte, NFL player, Trey Palmer, NFL player, plus future NFL superstars, Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors. Jack Bech on this team, he comes in. He is, I believe, he was a freshman on the 2021 team. Yes, he was. Up against freshman Thomas, freshman Neighbors, and upperclassmen Boutte and Palmer. He leads the entire team in receptions.
That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. There's definitely something there. And in the third round, again, you can't go wrong. I feel like it's a little bit of reverse. Like, there was a lot of receivers in the second round last year and a lot of running backs in the third. I feel like we're flipping that this year, but if you told me that any one of these players in the third round over any of the three in the second round, I would not surprise me at all. I don't know what to do here. I want to take Elijah Arroyo. That's the pick I want to make. I don't know if I can.
Going to stop you?
I like Brashard Smith. So I'm going to take Brashard Smith. I think he's a good player. I think he's the type of player that an NFL coach is going to fall in love with. I think he's the type of player that's going to need some help getting the job. But he's definitely one of those players that if he is in a 60-40 type split and he's the 40, he's going to be a flex player. He can catch the ball really well, runs really well, can block. He's got good size. I'm going to take Brashard Smith here late in probably every third round into early fourth round. I feel close about him as I did Garendo last year, where if he landed the right backup spot, he could smash. I feel like we're in that situation with Smith, except I think Smith has a better chance of keeping a job than Garendo ever would, simply because Garendo seems to be made of paper plates. I like Brashard Smith at 3.9. I love the upside with him, but I really fought Arroyo.
All right, I think Arroyo, for what it's worth, or maybe one of the wide receivers would be the quote-unquote right pick here at 310. But this is my last time I get to make a pick tonight, so I'm just going to pick a guy that you can probably take in round 4, but is one of my personal favorites. Led the entirety of college football last year in breakaway run rate. Was also in the top 10% of 2024 college running backs in missed tackles force rate. Really elite yards after contact rate, 4.1 yards per attempt. I'm going to take Jarquez Hunter, who I think is a guy I'm really, really hoping gets to go on early day 3. He might be like UDFA. I have no idea. But like when I got cooking on my spreadsheets before starting my running back work, every single time I would like go sort by highest in every stat I'm looking at. I'm seeing all your regular dudes, right? I'm seeing Jeanty, some mix of Hampton or Henderson, Johnson, all these dudes. And then Jarquez Hunter just kept popping in. And I was like, what's with this guy? And went back, watched him at Auburn. Really impressive dude. Someone who's almost certainly not going to go day 2. But if there's going to be a sleeper running back from day 3, he's currently my favorite.
Absolutely. I love the pick. I love it. Look, we did this last year with the Guru when he was on, and with my last pick, I did the same thing, and it was TTJ, Tyrone Tracy Jr. I don't mind you calling out your favorite here in this scenario because we're not doing 4 rounds. I love it. Buck, who do you got?
Yeah, so I wanted to just shout out, if this is Lucas's pick, so I want to shout out Kyle Williams, but I'm not going to pick him, so I want to shout him out. I think he's pretty interesting, but I'm going to take, I think he's honestly getting disrespected here. I'm going to take Ollie Gordon. Like, I know not a lot of people like him.
The fattest of fat running back.
He is the fat running back. Go, if only the Penn State
rocket.
Yeah, if only the Penn State running back declared, so we had who's actually nicknamed Fat Man. If Kaytron Allen declared, we would have had the king of the fat running backs. We have Ollie Gordon. 2 years ago, I mean, people are looking at him like he was supposed to be the RB1 of this class or really close to it, and then he completely fell off last year. He's on the cover of NCAA, I'm pretty sure, somehow. But I think he's interesting, right? He's going to be probably a day 3 pick, but he could be like the Dameon Pierce type player where he ends up as a day 3 pick in a really good spot. Like he's the 5th round pick as the only running back the Cowboys take or something, and he just gets – second round, he's a second round rookie pick, which he would be a sell there, but he's still, he has some type of value. I think he's a good pick because he could be that guy. There's going to be one of those guys like Dameon Pierce that end up on a team that end up in day 3, but end up in a really good spot. It happens every year. I think it could be Gordon. And he's also a player that could just be a guy that the NFL likes just higher on because he is a pedigree guy. He had a lot of performance. I don't know. I just think we're kind of disrespecting him to be almost a 4th round pick. I mean, he's at least a name, which is, we could say more for some of these guys there.
I mean, you look at somebody like Dameon Pierce and how fast his value went up. The worst dynasty player you've ever met could trade up to like the 103 on a rebuild and even take Dameon Pierce. Shout out to you, Brad. Hashtag never forget. Hashtag still rebuilding. Hashtag for a reason. Lucas, you're up.
All right. Yeah, I value pretty much all the picks from here on out.
Let's get the nerdiest Devy pick that you could possibly make.
Ooh.
I know you're going to make right now. Oh. You're going to make the deviest Devy player pick I've ever seen. I can feel it.
I just realized that Xavier Restrepo still is on the board. And that's
he's also still running his 40-yard dash.
You know what? I don't care. He gets open. Yeah, he gets open, and he was good last year. I don't care. I'm gonna go with Xavier Restrepo. At this point, like
I like Restrepo too. I just thought it was a good opportunity for a joke.
I almost went Jalen Broyles. I was really, really close until I saw that Restrepo was there. It's like, okay, well that's a pretty easy pick there.
So I want to point out that pretty easy. The next 2 picks there should be Arroyo and Royals. Like, we're not doing the 4th round, but pretty easy to me to see that should be the next 2 picks on this board. They're probably going lower than they should with some of these picks, but man, if you look at the 3rd round and even in the 2nd round, it is so much. There's a lot of depth, but a lot of this depth needs help to be relevant, which that is important to remember. In this game, you're hunting values here with the board, and sometimes when you look at it, not every one of these picks are going to smash. I mean, half of these picks are going to burn. Half of these players are going to end up in situations that we don't love. Half of our favorite starting running backs are going to be handcuffs for at least a year. Who knows? I mean, I even heard Theo Greminger and Pat Corain recording an episode, a little sneak peek. Corain said the same thing that I've been saying on this show. Hashtag Pat Corain liked my tweet twice. You can catch that in my profile. But Eve said, like, one of these guys are going to get drafted to Indy, or one of these guys are going to get drafted to Baltimore. Right? Same thing that we've been saying on this program since we've started rookie prospecting. And it's not going to be fun. But that's the thing with mock drafts and pre-NFL rookie drafts. You're taking your shots. You're having a good time. No one's getting this 100% right. Those are just the players that we like right now. Let's get final thoughts on the draft board. We're going to get out of here because there's no 5 for 5 today because Jacob, again, is doing this. It's what, 1:30 in the morning for you now. So shout out to Jacob. Thoughts on the draft, on how it went, picks you would change, just a final thought.
fun draft. It's just underscores to me that it's a draft that I think is really deep. I'm really excited about the quality of players that we took in the third. I think there's really fun players still on the board. I mean, Arroyo might be a round 2 tight end. Royals is a really productive, probably day 2 wide receiver. A few other guys too. And it's going to be a spot where I think there's a lot of chances to just go and take your guy, right? I mean, like we had the whole discussion in the middle of that running back round where the chat's going, oh my God, why not RJ Harvey? Or people take Samson. I took Giddens. It's really like a spot where, especially before we have landing spots, such a variant opinion where people are just going to get their dudes. If you have a chance now, I would try to probably trade back and add a couple extra late picks if you can ahead of the draft, and then just play it from there.
Yeah, don't hate that at all. Great points. Buck, final thought?
Yeah, I think we kind of confirmed what I already thought when we talked about our market report. I think like the 106 to the 112, I think those picks are super undervalued. And still now I think those are like kind of the hot spot to get. Even if you could take like the 110 to the 112, you could take a guy like Ayuk, something like him, trade him for a late pick like that, especially in startups. I mean, they're super underrated there, the late first. We already thought that. Now I think they're even more, because once you get to that 103, 104, like that's the spot you probably just need to trade back from, because there's going to be just similar to a couple years ago, like when Ken Walker could have been the 102, Treylon Burks could have been the 102, that draft. I think we're going to be there with like the 103, 104, where it could be 5 different type of players. So you rather either trade back or just try to buy them later first. That's what I think.
I love it. Lucas, final thoughts?
I think, like, as we're looking at this right now, there's still so many players that you can make an argument for should have been drafted. Looking at Jaden Blue, looking at Raheem Rocket Sanders, there's a lot more running backs that I think still could potentially find value. I think it was 2 weeks ago, whenever I was on the show talking about like how we are potentially looking at the value of the 109 and back to the 112 going up significantly after the draft. I think we're starting to trend that direction right now, because there's a lot more discussion about where some of these running backs are going to go. And if those running backs are going up, if there's more conversations about quarterbacks, potentially 3, if not maybe 4, if the real craziness happens going in the first round, I think that's driving a lot of value up. I think we are getting close to the point, though, that we're going to start to see a plateau, just because either the hype's either going to be confirmed or not. And I think that there's a lot of value as we're looking throughout the rest of the sport. Trey Harris going in the 3rd, I didn't see that coming. I think that's definitely a player watch. There's going to be a wide receiver that you love that's going to fall. I don't think you need to be reaching for him. Same with running backs. It's a really fun board right now.
My final takeaway is this. First off, shout out Kyle Manungai, who, if I did have a 4th round Rutgers legend, would have been part of this mock draft, just because, look, if you played college football, the video game this year, he was so drippy with the number 5. Like he absolutely rocks drip on the field, and you have to respect it. Just shout out the Rutgers legend, Kyle Manungai. I'll say that this is a draft where I want to be acquiring these 2nd round picks and 3rd round picks, but I'm not doing it at the expense of really good players just to get them, because I don't think there is a massive difference, unless Jaxson Dart or Milroe are available, between, say, the 203, the 202, and say the 210 to the 212. It is a wide gap in that 2nd round where draft capital has to settle it all. You want to acquire, but not at the expense of like legitimate players like a Chris Godwin, or like, say, a touchdowns. Or
I got breaking news.
Oh,
Tez
no.
Johnson just finished his 40. He's the pick 403 in this draft.
Oh my God. Did he eat a sandwich though? Because my Lord. No, I think that the draft community has gotten smarter, but I also feel like the rush for acquiring all of these mid-tier draft picks at the expense of real players is going to hit its peak here soon, and you just want to be careful. So that's the other side. That's playing the other side of the game. With that being said, D-Walk, I thought we launched at 9:35. We had to do it early because Jacob is doing this from Portugal. It is 1:30 in the morning for him. The man has to hike at 7:30 in the morning. He absolutely champed this out. We do not do mock drafts often, but this was a lot of fun. You're going to get a lot of mock drafts from the Fantasy Football Daily Show, from the Fantasy Points podcast. from NFL First Read, all shows you can get with fantasypoints.com. That being said, we had a great show. Scott Barrett next week for Boot and Rally 4. We have a lot of fun planned for that show. Again, there could be a People VRTDB. We haven't started putting it together yet. People have asked for it. We may be bringing it back for this special occasion. Last year, we did eulogies for some of our favorite wide receivers. Who knows what we have coming up for this one? Not going to want to miss it. If you're on Spotify, leave a comment. We are going to post another poll on Spotify. Go and answer that. Again, tune in to Dynasty Points Market Report. Andy and I have been loving the reception of the show. It's gone from the second show to 1A, 1B here in terms of Dynasty Points, and we love you guys for that. I couldn't do one show, and we got nothing but DMs asking where the hell the episode was. And you know what? We love that response from you guys. With all that being said, leave a comment under the video. Let us know what you think. I'm sure a lot of people are going to have a lot of opinions about who got picked where, especially some guy reaching at 103. What an absolute bum. That being said, remember that clear eyes, full hearts can never lose, in your best days they are always spent tilting. Good night, everybody.
What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.